Hello piano students, this is Dr. Ajero, and this short lesson video is covering Ecossaise by Ludwig van Beethoven, also found in Alfred's Group Piano for Adults Book 1 on page 317. If you haven't seen the demonstration video that I have of me playing through this piece, I encourage you to do so, but we're going to take a closer look at the music to have you have a successful performance of this here. If you notice that we are in the key of G major, and when we're in the key of G major, we should expect the G major chord to be featured, and that's what's happening in the left hand. And notice that the left hand, at least for the first half, consists of mostly broken chords here. Okay, so we have the one chord G major, but it's broken up where you have the bottom note on the first beat, and then the third and the fifth on the upper beats. Notice there's staccatos marked on every single one of those. So if you could play those as short and as light as possible, that would be fantastic. And then, at least in this particular edition, it's marked off simile, and that refers to the left-hand staccato. So for every other measure that you have, unless indicated otherwise, like in the last line, then you should play all those left-hand notes staccato. Will add to the dance character of this Ecossaise, which is what this piece ultimately is here, okay? So you have a broken G major chord, and it'd be a good idea to analyze what's going on harmonically so you know what's going on. There's a G major chord in the very first measure, and then the second measure, we're using the, it's actually a D7 chord, all right? Except we're leaving out the fifth, the F sharp that goes along with it here, so that you're just left with the 5-7 chord, D, A, C together like so, okay? And then in the next measure, it's the same chord except substituting that A with the F sharp. A lot of this is determined based off of the melody notes that are featured here. So then the melody actually has the A that's missing that goes along with it here, okay? And then in the last measure of measure 4 of that first line, you have this G, C, D combination, which is a G sus4 chord. All right, don't take this chord's name in vain here. And then where do we expect that G sus4 chord to resolve to? And you notice that the C changes to a B, and then it comes back to G major. So there's this circularity of going from the one chord G major to the 5-7 chord, and then back to the one chord all over again here. So play that first line with me so it sounds like this. Want to rewind and go over that again, you'll notice that the second line is the exact same thing, except one difference is in the very last measure here. So the second line. And then the last measure is just the G and the B. I like to play it with 1 and 2. And then what we do after that is I just move my hand down to D with my thumb. And then you have the so, do, like that, okay? You might want to practice that a little bit extra so you don't lose any beats in the rhythm like so. Okay, so I would practice that left hand on its own. The right hand complements the harmonic changes, so you'll notice that a lot of it features notes from those particular chords. So the first measure goes. Okay, and that's the second measure as well. Notice there's an accent on the E. This actually, we always associate Beethoven with a little bit more of a serious composer, but this shows a little bit of his humorous side where he kind of throws these naughty notes at us here that don't fit with the particular chords, and he accents them and holds them out to make them sound a little bit more humorous. And you should probably try to bring that out in your performance as well. Then you have some passing tone action going on in the third measure. And then this is my favorite note of the piece, is the A sharp. Okay, because that has nothing to do with either the G sus4 chord or even the G major chord. But then he does resolve it eventually to the B, but really briefly there. So I try to kind of play that up a little bit so it sounds more like this. Okay, so if it sounds wrong, that's okay. It should sound wrong at that point there, but that shows a little bit of the humorous quality here. If you want to try playing that first line either with the right hand or hands together, this is how it should go here. I'll count you off. I'll count 1 and 2, and you're in. 1 and 2. And you might need to practice it that slow or even slower first to eventually get yourself up to the allegro. Okay, and really bring out those accents here. And probably one of the most common errors that I hear students make is they make a little bit too big of a deal of that left hand. Just touch that. It's marked piano. Just kind of setting up the background for what the right hand melody is doing at that time here, okay? And the good news is the second line is almost virtually the same except for that so do at the end. So the second line should go. Okay, just like that, all right? You can do the repeat there as well and go back and you'll get a second chance to do it all over again. But let's go on to the third line here as well. If you take a look at the left hand accompaniment has changed here. What interval is being featured here? You'll notice that each of these is an octave, right? First between D and D, F sharp, A, and D. What do you notice when you put all those notes together here? You get the D's, D, F sharp, A, and then a D. Essentially highlighting the 5 chord or the D major arpeggio that goes along with it, except in this kind of broken chord fashion. And almost has this kind of percussion or drum-like feel to it there. So that should kind of give it a little bit more energy than even the first 2 lines here. So try to practice those first blocked and then break it up. Keeping that staccato going on for both of those first 2 measures and the third and fourth measures of that line. Okay, the right hand has these thirds that are featured that gives it again a little bit more festive kind of quality. Okay, one of the challenges that you're going to have is trying to keep those 16th notes. Try to keep those nice and legato, even though there's the staccato going on. So it might require you to kind of take it at slow motion at first, but then eventually put it together like so here, okay? And then maybe that transition from the second line to the third line, you might want to practice that a little bit extra so that you're not taking any extra beats, because if you add in extra rest there, that disrupts the rhythm of the dance here, okay? And then what we got going on in measure 13 is a little bit of a homorythmic coordination between both the left hand and the right hand here. I got F sharp and D. Don't forget all F's are made sharp from the key signature. I do switch over to the 4 and 2 normally here because that sets me up to go from this D7 harmony to G major chord at that point there. Okay, really follow the articulation. That will really bring out the character of this piece here. Okay, and also add the accent on those upbeats, so then it gives it that more kind of dance-like feel to it. Okay, here's a C major subdominant chord, and then goes to a 1/6 chord with the B octave there. They say 1 and 4. Did they say 1 and 4 there? That might be a bit of a stretch for some of you guys there. I guess they recommend that for those of you with bigger hands, but if you use 1 and 5, I would be totally okay with that. Okay, you just want to try to hold it as long as you can. So then it has this 2-note slur feel to it there. And then we have the broken D7 chord again, the 5/7, and then, hey, that's the same as before, wasn't it? It's the same thing as measures 7 and 8 as we go through that there, okay? So the last line should sound like this. 1 and 2 and. And don't forget, there is a repeat sign, so if you want to take it all over again, you can do so. But you should go back to the beginning. Don't forget the accents. And then the fine means you're all done, okay? Again, it is marked allegro, so it should have some pep to it there. You don't have to play it as fast as I did here, but something that has a little bit of a kind of energy to it and forward motion that makes you want to dance to it. Even though this is a little bit slower. I think the main thing is the articulations, that you want to try to keep those and bring out those syncopated rhythms that are going on in the right-hand melody. So I hope you found that video helpful, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or any of your SFA piano instructors here, and have fun practicing. Thanks. Bye.